Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. About 10 or 20 years ago, FIRE, financial independence, retire early, was all the rage in niche financial circles. And the idea behind it was quite alluring. Work hard, save aggressively, and then leave the workforce. Retire into a life of doing whatever calls you by the time you're in your 40s or even as early as your late 30s, which is ridiculously early as far as retirements go, being that most people don't hit this stage until they're in their 60s or so. Admittedly, I was one of those people drawn to the FIRE lifestyle. I actually found out about it when I was in high school from my brother, who was reading this blog from Mr. Money Mustache, one of the most well-known and perhaps OG FIRE community members. And this was the reason I fell in love with the idea of retirement and why at 20 I was constantly talking about retirement and financial freedom, a subject most 20-somethings couldn't care less about. I fell hard for this idea that I could work a decade or two and then hang up my working hat and then just live life on my own terms. I was convinced at 20 I had it all figured out. I would pursue this FIRE path and retire at 35. Well, surprise, surprise, I didn't have everything all figured out at 20. Who does? And I'm 35 and I have absolutely no desire to retire, nor could I, so I guess I missed the mark on that one. As the years went on, what started out as an absolute love affair with FIRE evolved into a more complicated relationship. I think it has its good points, but I don't think it has the answer to everything. And I think a lot of people feel that way because over the years, there's been a transition to more of a focus on the financial independence part of FIRE rather than that retire early part. I've even heard people refer to it as financial independence or recreational employment, where you transition to a perhaps more enjoyable career. I think the idea of financial independence appeals to people at all stages of life. And importantly, it's very inclusive. Not too many people want to or will ever be able to retire at 38. That sets an unrealistic standard. However, striving for financial independence, that's very realistic for most people. While my relationship with FIRE has definitely changed over the years, there's still valuable lessons and habits that I carry with me to this day from the FIRE movement. And I think these are ones that we could all take and make our lives, especially our financial lives, just a little bit better. Getting started early in your savings and investing journey is the hallmark of the FIRE movement. Putting your money to work to build a nest egg that is large enough to sustain you and the life you want to live one day is the entire purpose. A survey from Nationwide says that the average age to start investing for retirement is 31 years old. But if you're banking on retiring 20 some odd years before the typical American, you can't procrastinate. It has to start with the very first job and the very first paycheck. But the good news is, if you start early and you aren't following a strict FIRE path, you're not planning on leaving the workforce early or going without a paycheck until that more traditional retirement age, those dollars you invest early are very powerful. As this chart from JP Morgan illustrates, the power of investing early cannot be understated. Two investors investing the exact same dollar amount with start times 10 years apart shows that the early investor's portfolio dwarfs the delayed investor, even if the early investor stops contributing after just 10 years and leaves compounding to work its magic. In fact, an investor starting at 20 would have to invest just $225 per month to reach millionaire status by 65. An investor starting at 30 would have to invest roughly $500 a month. And an investor starting at 40 would have to invest about $1,200 a month. Starting early means that you can keep those dollar amounts necessary to invest to reach your goal more manageable. If you delay your start, it means you're going to have to work that much harder and that you're going to have to save that much more. Importantly, every FIRE person I've ever spoken with talks about putting their money to work, aka getting invested. You're not going to build wealth just sitting in a savings account earning next to nothing on your money. You have to get invested. And low-cost brokerage houses are the way to go. They offer low-cost index funds, which means you get to keep more of your money working for you because the expenses are kept so low. The most common companies you tend to hear about are Vanguard and Fidelity. And once you pick a brokerage house, you have to pick a fund to invest in. And again, the most common funds you tend to hear about are S&P tracking funds or index funds that track the entire market. FIRE proponents absolutely make use of a variety of investment accounts. In the case of wanting to retire early, this just makes good sense, as traditional retirement accounts are generally not accessible without penalty at early ages. For most traditional accounts, think the 401k, the 403b, the TSP, you would have to wait until you're 59 and a half to withdraw this money penalty-free. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, but in general, you have to be older to access these accounts. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that these account types are bad. Quite the contrary. I think these account types are wonderful. Often they come with free money in the form of an employer match, and they allow your money to grow completely tax-free, which is a huge benefit. But they just come with some rules. So if you're planning on stepping away from the workforce before a traditional retirement age, you're going to have a way to access some money. And that's where different account types come in. You could use a Roth account, as any of the contributions you made you can access at any time for any reason, but these accounts are also tax advantaged. So that does hurt the growth potential that can happen within these accounts. So perhaps that's not the best use of these funds either. Depends on your situation. Alternatively, you could use just a brokerage account. These accounts aren't tax advantaged in any way, but they have the added perk of you can access this money anytime you want it. Even in a traditional retirement, having different account types, a traditional retirement account, a Roth account, and a brokerage account allows you to withdraw money from different buckets for different reasons, and it allows you to be more efficient with your dollars. Your spending rate is more important than your income, and you have far more control over your spending than you do over your income, especially in the short term. Most people tend to increase their lifestyle as their paycheck increases, but for those who are committed to the FIRE lifestyle, they deliberately choose to live on less. Often they'll still act like they're at their starting salary after several years and several pay increases, allowing them to have a very low spend rate and a very high savings rate. And that's not to say that you shouldn't enjoy some level of lifestyle inflation as your pay increases, especially if you're aiming for that more traditional retirement. But you just want to make sure that you're also increasing the amount that you're contributing to investments. You don't want to start out when you have a base wage putting away $50 a month and then continue just putting away $50 a month when your pay has more than quadrupled. Know the value of your time. I think the book that best goes over the value of your time is Your Money or Your Life. This book really drives home the idea that we're trading our life hours for dollars and that this time is quantifiable. And how much of your life do you want to trade for dollars? Because inevitably, when you make the choice to go to work, you're making the choice not to do something else, like spend time on hobbies you enjoy, spend time with family and friends or your kids. I think it can be really easy to get so focused on this number in the bank account and watching it climb and trying to hit the next goal that we can forget that there's a cost, and that cost is our time, our life hours that we trade to get this paycheck, to earn this money. Now, here's where I think I made a mistake. When I was in my 20s and fully committed to living that FIRE lifestyle, in my heart, I wanted to be doing pretty much anything other than the jobs I was doing. But looking back, that really spoke more to the jobs that I was doing. I didn't enjoy any of them. I was doing them solely to earn a paycheck. None of them were a passion. As I went into my 30s, I deliberately set out to build a career that I thoroughly enjoyed, that I could like doing day in and day out. So nowadays, I feel incredibly blessed and lucky to say I love what I do. And that plays a huge part in me not wanting to retire early. I like the people I work with. I get fulfillment from the job that I do. I feel challenged. And luckily, I have a very flexible schedule. I kind of get to plan work around my life. What could be better than that? So for me, finding a job that I truly enjoy just made it so I don't even want to retire early. More often than not, I think when you're in a job you don't enjoy, you're more likely to say you want to retire early. And having been on both sides of the spectrum, in jobs that I thoroughly did not enjoy and in a job that I truly love, I can say that life is better when you enjoy your work, when you're not constantly saying, I'm living for the weekend, or asking yourself, gosh, how many days do I have to continue putting up with this? So while I do think it's important to know the value of your time, I think it's equally important to find a job that brings you joy. If you ask any FIRE person, what's your number? They will have an answer for you. Your number is the number you need to hit financial freedom. And I think it's hugely important that everyone know what number they're striving for. It's a way of clarifying your goals. However, most people don't have a financial plan. Most people don't have a specific goal that they're aiming for. According to Charles Schwab's Modern Wealth Survey, only 33% of Americans have a written financial plan. A lot of people simply say, I don't have the money or the time to make a plan, or a plan just seems too complicated. But don't let excuses hold you back. Even if your plan begins with you writing it down on the back of a napkin, it's important to write it down. Writing it down makes it real. With some time, you're going to want to make sure to put some thought into it. Why did you pick this number? How do you plan on getting there? How many years are you going to give yourself to get there? And what do you plan on doing once you hit this number? Those without a plan are more likely to be in debt or experience bankruptcy. The whole goal of chasing financial independence so you can retire early is that you can retire into doing things that you love, so you can spend your life doing things that bring you joy. Rather than spending 30 or 40 years meeting other people's expectations and deadlines, you can say, that's not important to me. I'm going to put me first. And I think we're particularly bad at this as Americans. We wear this badge of honor of working excessively, working long hours, working overtime, never using our vacation days. And that doesn't go a long way to bringing us happiness. Our greatest happiness often comes when we're doing the things we love, whether that's a hobby or spending time with family and friends, taking a trip to a place we really wanted to see, or just making new memories. We get so caught up in the daily grind thinking I have to do this to get ahead, I have to climb this ladder, I know my coworkers are depending on me, that we kind of end up operating with blinders on. We get tunnel vision into becoming the best worker we can or the best we can become in the workspace, that we forget to take care of the other sides of ourselves. We're more than just our jobs, so we should make sure to make time for all sides of ourselves. Don't delay. I think this is a really important point, and I think a lot of times we tend to have this one-day mentality. Perhaps there's a vacation you want to take, but you tell yourself, oh, I'll do it when the kids are older, or when I have more money, or I'll just wait till retirement. But the thing is, life has a way of throwing you curveballs. Sometimes we put these things off so long that we never even get around to doing them. They just get forgotten. Or what if you delay so long and wait until retirement and then find that you're not as healthy as you thought you might be, so you can't do them? I think it's important to do the things you love when you're younger and when you're older, at all phases of life. I like to say life has no throwaway years. So make sure to make the time for the things you're passionate about and things that you want to do when you're able to do them. You don't have to be retired to take a trip. Just take the time off work and go. Work will be there when you get back. Waiting for one day isn't all it's cracked up to be. So I want to know, are you chasing fire? Do you want to retire early, or do you just want to hit financial independence? And if so, what age do you want to hit financial independence? I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.